Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show, rocking through another hour of free, entertaining gardening advice. Another thing in which you can use for your garden, we've talked about it through the program, is you got to feed your soil. We've talked about it on a lot of programs. You got to feed your soil to feed the plants, and Simple Grow does just that with 100% worm castings.
Are you worried about your plant growth? Provide your plants with what they need to grow to their potential. Simple Grow offers 100% organic worm castings at simplegrow.com. Unlike any other worm casting products, when you order from Simple Grow, you are getting 100% worm castings.
We've seen this in the grocery store. The package is getting smaller, but the price gets bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Simple Grow, you get what you pay for. You get all worm castings, no fluff, none of that, just all worm castings.
Absolutely. And they are there to, promote your soil structure and aeration with Simple Grow all natural and odor-free worm castings. There's only one ingredient, worm castings. No chemicals or additives will seep into your food, and it doesn't smell like other fertilizers. For indoor and outdoor use, you can buy by the bag, bundle, ton, or truckload. You can check out what Simple Grow 100% worm castings can do for your plants and order today at simplegrow.com.
Well, Holly, let's go to the Proclamation Hotline, brought to you by Proclamation Goods, and bring in our guest for this week.
Lawrence Dean Alberty is the owner of Deep Roots Microbiome. He is an expert of soil, the lifeblood of plants. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you guys both for having me on this program. I'm very honored to be here.
Well, we thank you for taking time out of your day, not only to educate Holly and myself as we bring guests on for that purpose, but to educate all of our listeners across the country as well.
So with that being said, soil is vital to healthy plants, but some people think feeding your plants versus building your soil is better. Are they wrong, and why?
Well, let's get into this. It's not that people are wrong. They have a common goal, and it's for healthy plants. And they need a partner that they should be healthy through soil, through life, and the plant, no matter what type of plant they are growing, they're looking for the best outcome. So when growing healthy soil, the outcome should always be that if your plan on eating this plant or the product of the plant that is given through the plant, then the goal is to make sure that these food sources are delivered and to the right amounts. So when you look at what are the available communications between the soil and the roots, through creating a vast network of mycelium connections underground that works together with fungi and bacteria, you can solve a lot of problems. And that is working with the microbiome through the soil and getting the communications moving.
Well, and you say that, and it comes to my mind over, let's just pick the last 70 years, the food, the vitamins and the minerals in the food that once was in our food is not in our food because the soil doesn't have what it needs to feed the plant properly in order to feed us correctly. Am I close to that?
No, you are very on top of that, because this is true. As our soil is depleted and the energy that is gone out of the soil, we're looking at how to revitalize that soil. And sometimes that soil needs a boost. And then when you work with the specific microbes that can unlock that soil potential, that's where you can break open their shells, pull in that vital part of the nutrients, the amino acids, well within that plant. Now remember, the mycorrhizals, the uproot takes have got to start talking to each other. And my theory, and everybody else that we talk around the world, is that the roots have to make that vital connection in the soil for that to be open. And that's where you have the bacterium and the fungi that have got to work together.
Well, let's talk about adding things to your soil. A lot of people drink coffee, and coffee grounds can be added to your soil. We know it's a benefit to do that. Talk more about adding coffee grounds to the soil and what the do's and maybe the don'ts to doing what you think may be the right way.
I love this question. I get to talk about this a lot with a lot of colleagues and around the area. And there are frequent anecdotal recommendations for the use of product spent coffee grounds. And we're talking a lot of grams out there. I mean, when I was doing some research, I was gathering over 60 pounds of spent coffee grounds from Starbucks. And I was amazed by just how much I could use. Now, when we look at the coffee grounds in agricultural and gardens, either through direct soil applications or after composting with the other urban organic waste, we were looking at studies that can investigate the scientific basis for direct applications of spent coffee grounds and their influence on different things like the pH, nitrogen preferences, soil types, application rates. We specifically consider impacts upon the plant growth, soil, hydrology, and nitrogen transformation processes were some of the big things that you look at. So increasing the spent coffee grounds and amending those into the soil, you had to increase water holding capacity. But, and I repeat, but also decrease some horticultural plant growth. Subsequently, weed growth was diminished, and there's clear evidence that nitrate immobilizations in some spent coffee grounds could go on. So overall, growth suspension was not explained, and the soil pH changes in nitrogen need to be addressed more specifically. So one of the things that you got to do is close that loop within the food production. And I do believe that if you have spent coffee grounds and you can utilize them in your garden, and understanding it's going to take the microbes and the bacteria to break it down and then work its way into each plant, it can be done, and it can be done to the best of knowledge with everybody. And one of the biggest things that most people in our region is pine trees. One of our researchers led us to find that Austrian pines, by using spent coffee grounds, really improved the needle quality of a lot of the spruces, something that we're not expecting.
That's awesome. So if someone wants to increase worm production in their soil, should they feed the soil to encourage worms to come to their soil, or should they be bringing in worms from outside resources? And
wow.
what is the best method here?
Okay, so this is also a very delicate question, and it's with the times that we're having now. So let's all remember that soil is a living thing with all sorts of moving parts, and with the understanding that we should look at the goals used in creating healthy earthworm populations and to keep growing. So helping with organic matter, using more microbes to help that organic matter be functional for the earthworms. And these are things that you're looking at is biodiversity. And with biodiversity, there's so many different earthworms out there that cross each other's paths. They work in formations, and it's just a wonderful cycle. So by saying that, you should always utilize the best methods that you have. And if you have to purchase earthworms into your program, I think that's a very complementary program to someone's garden. But just please beware that when you are purchasing earthworms, try to use your local earthworms that are there, because of some of these really nasty things that are being out there with hammerhead earthworms and jumping earthworms here in the Midwest. It is a reason to be concerned, but utilize your natural earthworms and enjoy the outcome that they can give you in your garden.
Definitely. So we are talking with soil expert Lawrence Dean Alberty.
Well, let me ask you this. When we talk about the health of the soil, hydration, I would assume, is one of the key elements in order to make everything bind together or do what it needs to do. And one way in which you can hydrate the soil is using a product which sponsors our program, which is the tree diaper. Is that true, that hydration is one of the keys to making all this work?
Oh, it is far the best way to get hydration. And as part of what I do for our state of Missouri, as our Missouri Community Forestry Council also, is, we look at, for trees, for instance, and we're right now in Arbor Day month and trying to get trees to grow. And what the tree diaper has shown outside of my view and within my view of the state is that having the tree diaper has a way of hydrating our plants and our trees. But one of the things that I love about this product is that once it's hydrated and it's been in the place, is pulling back that tree diaper and focusing directly where it laid. And by doing that, you will see an earthworm population, centipedes, roly-polies, biodiversity has increased under the tree diaper. The tree diaper is meant to hydrate, but the other factors is that it is improving soil health. And now we can focus on other factors underneath that tree diaper that I would love to see move on into the science and research realm. So kudos to the tree diaper. It's whether it's in the garden mat or in your plant, it has really shown me the way within our own orchards.
Yeah, we really do like the tree diaper. So if you're going to add compost or raised bed mix to your raised beds, what are pros and cons to both, and is one favorable over the other?
Okay, so with this, the best understanding that compost is like a science project to me and to everybody else. It has added values to the meaning that it goes into the mix. Somehow it will come out into the plants that you are going to grow. Now remember, planting is growing. So by growing it, you're adding that compost right into the soil after it's done. And everybody's compost is never going to be the same. It's always going to be different. So pass or fail, sometimes you have to accept that your compost may need a little bit more of this or a little less of that. That's the reason why we are all given that scientific merit of growing plants and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So growing as being a steward of this earth, we must do our best with compost and look at biodiversity that will add into the mix of your program. Microbes into the compost is only complete when you add the best soil. So with that being said, I think everybody should look at their compost, adding it to the raised beds, and understanding the growth potential within the soil and keep this process going. It's been going on for ages, and I think everybody should learn from a great gardener about composting and move it forward.
And if you're not able to produce as much compost as you want, and you purchase it, you want to purchase it from somebody or a place in which they can track from the very beginning what's going on, because you get what you pay for. El Cheapo stuff, it's not that good. We went down that road, and we advise people not to.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And that's one of the things that you have to look at is you do pay for what you get. And I think that's very wise that people should fully understand that. Bad compost can have, some bad parts into it that could damage your plant, whether it's Pythium, botrytis, root rot, and then you have to reach for that medicine cabinet and add some Bacillus amyliquifascia in order to correct these problems. So maybe that's something we should look at in the future is composting and then adding a Bacillus once that gets put in around your plant to suppress the bad effects. But they're all be mitigated into how we view our world and how our world views us.
Absolutely. Well, we've really enjoyed having you on the program. Can you tell us, our listeners, how to get more information about you or how to access your great helpful information?
Yeah, so one of the best ways that I tell everybody would be either go on our website, and that's deeprootsmicrobiome.earth, not .com, and then the other one would be the YouTube, and type in YouTube and go to Deep Roots Microbiome and pull up the video on YouTube, and that's very helpful, and that explains the reason why we set this course to discover and open the education to the public that normally does not understand but would love to understand how we go about doing this.
Well, Dean, we greatly appreciate your time and the vast amount of knowledge in which you've allowed us to receive in the short period of time we've had you on, and our listeners. We thank you for that very much.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.